Okay, well, I think let's kick it off. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Brian Gibby with Driving Sales. I'm the media sales manager. So I have actually been asked to fill in today. The guy that normally hosts our webinars was double booked because we've got an event coming up. So I apologize for the hat. I normally would have taken the time to do my hair, but I didn't realize I was going to be helping out today. But anyway, we're looking forward to today's webinar. We've got a really good one in store. So I wanted to introduce Jeff. He's gonna introduce himself and the topic for today's webinar. So before we turn the time over to you, Jeff, I just wanted to let everybody know that we're gonna do probably 30 or so minutes of presentation, and then we'll follow that with some Q&A at the end. And so there's a chat function. We're using Zoom, obviously. So there's a chat function at the bottom. So I would encourage you guys, anything that he's presenting on that you have questions on, just use that chat function. We'll let those kind of pile up and then address those at the end of the webinar. So Jeff, without further ado, if you want to take over.
Yeah, let's rock and roll. Hey, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're at today. I'm excited to join everybody and discuss a bit about horizontal marketplaces. And you know, it's an opportunity to explore how dealers can list, advertise, and acquire more vehicles through some of these specific platforms. As Brian mentioned, my name is Jeff Rucker. I'm the head of enterprise sales at OfferUp. I've been in sales leadership through numerous roles over the last 16 years in a lot of different disciplines, working first in the sports and entertainment space with the NBA and the NHL, and then moving into real estate with Zillow and Trulia, some household names that you guys are probably familiar with, and then onto Adobe in the marketing technology space, and now currently in my role with OfferUp and specifically in our autos vertical. And you know, the common thread that I've seen in my work has been the increased focus and reliance on technology and the advancements we've made to connect with consumers in an often ever-changing and fast-paced environment. And most recently with OfferUp, I've been focused on our growing client base in our franchise and group dealership segments. And what that really includes from a franchise standpoint, as you can imagine, you're talking about your bigger brand logos with Buick, GMC, Tesla, and then also some different brands like AutoNation, Lithia, Asbury, Larry H. Miller, Penske Automotive, things along those lines. And then from a group dealership standpoint, my team takes on rooftops that have at least 5 locations, and that can be within one state or across multiple states and all the way from a national landscape from coast to coast. So that is my area of expertise currently, and we're going to jump in here and get a little bit of the why. So why are we all gathered together today? You know, we want to focus on a handful of areas that really are dialed into the horizontal marketplace topic and why you should care about it and how it's impacting the business and how it's impacting our consumers' lives. And then what you need to know about the modern consumer and shopper and how some of that data has changed recently, especially over the last 18 months, and how it's influenced our business and maybe your own individual buying habits or shopping habits. And then rethinking what a horizontal marketplace can really do for you and your business as you move forward into Q4 and obviously into 2022 and beyond. So even if you aren't familiar with the term horizontal marketplace, you already know exactly what it is. You can see on your screen here, simply put, the horizontal marketplace is a one-stop shop where users can purchase almost anything and everything from a single app or website. There's no need to go to different sites or apps to shop across different product categories. You know, what we're talking about is any number of online shopping sites that offer merchandise across a broad spectrum or product categories, and that can be either used or new or even a combination of both. You know, the horizontal marketplace is the opposite of a vertical marketplace, which you guys are all familiar with and well versed in. Many of those examples lie in the automotive space. All of our classic vehicle listing sites and research sites like Car Gurus, Auto Trader, Cars, and others are considered vertical specific to autos. But the horizontal marketplace, as you can imagine, is the equivalent of a digital shopping mall. It's a place where you can get much more than one kind of product. So when we think about some of these horizontal marketplaces, the most well-known obviously is Amazon. With more than 50 different categories of merchandise that you can shop. Walmart and Target, they're just really Amazon wannabes. They're growing and moving into that direction to be able to offer as many categories as possible. But Amazon's really been one of those leaders in that space, which is hard to believe given that at one time all they were doing was selling books. They've changed quite a bit and grown into one of the largest horizontal marketplaces. But then there are horizontal marketplaces like the ones you see on the right side of your screen. You have Facebook Marketplace, eBay, Craigslist, OfferUp, amongst others. And really the noticeable differences between these styles of horizontal marketplaces is that there are no cars for sale on Amazon or Target or Walmart like there are within the Facebook Marketplace, OfferUp, and eBay Motors. And that's really just right now. You could say that Amazon, Target, Walmart, they might be someone in the future who dabbles in the auto space. It's hard to say, but all these companies continue to evolve and try to find continued market share and positioning themselves with their consumers. Another immediate difference and probably most noticeable is really the focus on new merchandise. Obviously Amazon and Target, Walmart, they're focusing on new goods, whereas OfferUp and some of these others that you see on the screen are dabbling more into the used portion of the horizontal marketplace. And there's definitely other marketplaces involved as well, like Etsy, Poshmark, Mercari, to name a few. But those marketplaces fall a little bit between the horizontal and vertical marketplace because they have a niche audience that's really focusing on, handmade goods, or maybe they're focused on fashion and they specialize in that specific area, where OfferUp and some of these others are involved in the auto space. The others don't fall into those categories. So I know you're probably thinking to yourself, Jeff, why are you telling me all this? Why should I care? The vertical listing sites like Car Gurus are where the in-market shoppers are. And my response would be simply, yes, you're 100% correct. In-market shoppers do use sites like Car Gurus and Auto Trader and other auto vertical listing sites to do a lot of their research. They're an important resource during a specific phase of the car buying process for some of these buyers, but they're used on a more limited basis within a more finite window of time when they decide when they want to actually shop. Right? They'll spend a few hours over the course of several weeks or several months, but Cox Automotive data suggests that in 2020, buyers spent on average 13 hours researching, shopping, and then completing that full journey of purchasing a car from end to end. Those same consumers spent 13 hours in a week, or in some cases, even a less amount of time shopping on Amazon and OfferUp and Facebook and Craigslist, buying plates, skateboards, diapers, mosquito bracelets, sleeping bags, everything that they need to actually live their day-to-day lives. They're there almost every day. Not just when they're in the market for a vehicle. And what's unique about the horizontal marketplace is that you can list and promote your inventory and your vehicles there too. So it's not just a place to go shop, but it's a place that you can actually get your inventory out to the masses. So the real question being, why should you? And really, it all comes down to that reach. There's been over 1 billion monthly users within these horizontal marketplaces, and that's an untapped resource in a lot of ways for many dealers that are looking to grow their brand and get their inventory in front of people. Many of these people you are trying to sell your vehicles to, particularly on the used vehicle side, will spend more time shopping on those horizontal marketplaces in a day or two than they'll spend researching on the vehicle listing sites or even on your own company dealership website for their entire purchase process. And when we look at some of these that are on the screen here, they're stack ranked in an order of monthly active users. And Facebook has obviously been one of the largest by far. But we're not ashamed to say, even though OfferUp is at the bottom of this list with the smallest of the four in terms of monthly users, we're actually the largest mobile marketplace in the country, and specifically on this list, and a top 5 shopping app in the Apple and Android app stores. And maybe most importantly to everyone on the call today, as a dealer, our monthly shopper volume is comparable to what CarMax and Carvana are seeing within their vertical shopping listing platforms. So this next page, it's pretty watered down and pretty generic in nature, but it resembles quite a bit of what's been going on. This segment has experienced explosive growth in the past 18 months. And while I can only speak for OfferUp, it's pretty safe bet that most metrics that anyone in these horizontal marketplace spaces look very similar to this. If you go back to March and April of last year, you're going to see a lot of steep growth curves. The pandemic has everything to do with that. Fair or unfair, sites like OfferUp and Facebook were flooded with activity when the pandemic started because consumers were looking for ways to save money, they were looking for ways to raise money, and they were looking for ways to offload goods as everyone started to clean out their homes when they were working in these different remote capacities. In addition, many people have adjusted their needs from new cars to used cars as they are no longer commuting to the office on a day-to-day basis. So as we look at some of these different things, the horizontal marketplaces really have been built for the modern shopper and their needs. Leading into the commonality consumers are searching for is a huge opportunity. Relate to buying local produce or gifts from a local boutique. There's an emotional attachment that makes consumers not only prefer local business, but they're willing to pay more to support local businesses. And car dealerships we have found to really not be much different. People want to feel good about the dealership they bought that car from, that business they know is staying within the community and they're supporting what's going on within their neighbors and within a 30-mile radius of their home. So think about it. Horizontal marketplaces are built for that pandemic shopper. You can get anything you need through one-stop shopping style of technology. They offer a broad selection from many different sources versus very specific offerings. There's a convenience factor to it. The shopping apps and websites are easy to use. Purchases show up a day or maybe 2 days within purchase. The word we use at OfferUp and that you may have heard in other institutions is frictionless. Amazon has their buy now button where you can click it, it's at your house. OfferUp offers similar capacities where all you need to do is upload a picture, type in a description, and it's up on our site within seconds. From a personal safety standpoint, it's pretty much it's a risk-free opportunity. There's no contact interaction with merchants. There's hands-free payment options. There's touchless services. At OfferUp, I hear a lot of our individual contributors using the phrase with dealers that, hey, you don't want to show up into the parking lot of a Denny's with $4,000 in cash and give it to a random stranger. You want to be able to post a vehicle, have a reputable institution, have a dealership that you can go to, knowing that there's a trust and safety component involved there that you can have that conversation with. And you can do a lot of that online now. And then, as we mentioned before, the community aspect. There's a local aspect to what we're doing within these horizontal marketplaces. In many, it's relatively easy to find and support local businesses and retailers, and banding together with neighbors to support those local businesses who oftentimes might be your literal neighbor that are right outside your door within your own neighborhood. On OfferUp, more than 90% of shopping is for items for sale within a 30-mile radius of the actual user. And within our verified dealer program, we actually broaden that out to an 80-mile radius to allow dealerships to really get everybody that might be interested within their community and right outside of those neighboring communities. And then the final thing, growth is also partially driven by a sense of responsibility. Re-commerce, in particular, the resale of used goods and items on platforms like OfferUp, it's a social responsibility that takes place. It's sustainable. It keeps items that are useful, surplus items, used but still have life items out of landfills. And that's important to a lot of consumers in today's world. So as we look into this continued idea of the growth that's taking place, All of this value and convenience creates what we at OfferUp refer to as the flywheel effect. If the marketplace is easy to use, buyers and sellers will gravitate there. Sellers find it easy to list items and get them matched to shoppers that are looking for their merchandise. Shoppers find a broad selection as well and great supply of goods available to them, which attracts more of them often. The increased demand attracts more sellers, and the flywheel of supply and demand continues to sustain itself. So when you think about the idea of being able to list, advertise, and acquire, which we were mentioning at the beginning of the conversation, dealerships can not only list their inventory, they can advertise their brand and their dealership and their company's name and let people know what they have to offer, but they can also go to the site and they can acquire inventory, and then they relist it. So that flywheel effect is constantly in motion through those three specific areas of opportunity. So why should a horizontal marketplace matter to a dealer? Really, it comes down to these two things: the reach and the stickiness aspect. And when you think about the transactional versus the reoccurring, you see here it says users shop on an average of 19 times each month within these horizontal marketplaces, and they're constantly learning over time. When I become an in-market car buyer and begin researching vehicles with more frequency on OfferUp, my feed changes. The platform learns what I like, what I dislike. Each time I log in, it will surface newly listed inventory that match my personal preferences and my profile. When you compare that to auto-specific marketplaces like Car Gurus or Auto Trader, I have to restart that search each time I open my browser, hoping to see new forerunners that might be listed. But with OfferUp in these horizontal marketplaces, you'll see different algorithms that are working behind the scenes, and we do the work for the consumer to make sure that that convenience is unmatched. Reach is a huge value add for the dealership, but there's also the stickiness factor to consider as well. A shopper's visit and engagement with your website is oftentimes very transactional. They get what they need, or maybe they don't get what they need, and then they leave until it's time to come back. In my own experience, I'll buy something from a dealership, but I oftentimes don't go back for the service components and the different items that are offered to me. And I won't really have much interaction with that dealership for maybe 6-7 more years, but I might be loyal to it because I had a good experience that I'll remember. But they don't have to download anything from a consumer standpoint, and they may not be back for weeks, and like I mentioned, even months or even years. You have very little opportunity to engage with them after that initial transaction takes place. And with more conservative privacy policies and cookie limitations and things that are going on behind the scenes, it's getting harder for us to stay digitally connected to everybody who are moving into more and more digital audience engagements. There's also the reality that there's no consumer appetite for car shopping apps and dealer apps. You know that firsthand, though. If they aren't going to use an app frequently, they aren't likely to download it. And when I think about some of those experiences that I've had as a user, I scheduled a kid's haircut appointment at a kid's barbershop, and I have twin boys, so we had 2 appointments back to back. We were late for the first appointment by 1 minute, even though our second son had his appointment coming up in 15 minutes. They told us, "Hey, we're closed." They already had all the lights off, and they wouldn't service us anymore, and we couldn't believe it. But I left that appointment and I proceeded to download the Yelp app. I left a negative review for them, and then I uninstalled the app because it's something that I don't use frequently, and it's not something that I've been back to since. I haven't been back to the kids' barbershop, and I haven't used Yelp since because it's just not an everyday convenience and something that I need. So what I did was I downloaded it and then I deleted it, and it was out of sight, out of mind. It just makes sense to be present on these horizontal marketplaces from a shopping standpoint that you do use on an everyday basis. Buyers are comfortable with the marketplace app. It stays on their devices because they use it all the time. As you see, again, the average OfferUp user shops 19 times a month. That's stickiness. That is stickiness. It's an opportunity to stay present with your target audience. that you don't get with most visitors to our own individual websites. Another example of reach and stickiness would be rideshare apps that we experience today, whether it's Lyft or Uber. They were just for hailing a car at one point and to take you somewhere, right? And now you can order and deliver food. You can get a ride to a vaccine. You can order groceries. You can deliver packages. You can find a bike or a scooter all through this one place. They've evolved into more of a horizontal marketplace themselves, which keeps people coming back to their app and using them over and over for a lot of different reasons. So who are these people, right? These buyers are turning more into the modern shopper. So today's buyers are right in the sweet spot of life where circumstances change quickly, as does the type of utility that they need from a vehicle. They go from high school to college to young professionals and then a family and then into the suburbs, all within a matter of about 10 years. Convenience and familiarity of shopping is what drives these consumers through life's many roller coasters that they experience within a decade's time. But who are these shoppers? And as you can see here, some things we know about the OfferUp user in particular. This comes from data we've collected from user information and from shopper surveys. And while I can't speak to the demographics of the rest of the horizontal marketplace platforms, I would guess that it's probably pretty similar in nature. They are a younger demographic. As you can see here, the OfferUp user is typically from the 25 to 44 age range when it comes to the typical car buyer. And Cox Automotive has reported in February that the average car buyer last year was 50 years old. So you can see there's a little bit of a difference there. They're also very similar when it comes to the demographic versus the male and female user, but we're pretty split evenly there. The majority, over 70%, currently prefer mobile shopping versus web or even that in-person interaction. Everybody wants it in their fingertips and they want it now. You can see this data aligns pretty closely with the independent research from eMarketer, which you can see here on the screen. The mobile preference is much higher within that 18 to 44 age group as well. In fact, among these groups, 35% of these consumers expect to be able to conduct all shopping interactions digitally. So they don't want to talk to anybody. They don't want to see anybody. They want to be able to do it all right here from the comfort of their couch and in most times while they're on the go. And at least among OfferUp users and shoppers that we surveyed, 1 in 4 say that they are shopping horizontal marketplaces exclusively for finding a next vehicle. So other interesting challenges to be thinking about as we move through, not just Q4, but into 2022 and beyond. A lot of these individuals didn't own a car and no longer really want to be using public transportation. Google survey data shows us that public transportation use has fallen by more than half in the wake of the pandemic. Most people are feeling a little leery. They want to make sure that they can own their own health and own the dynamic of how they travel. And that has opened up the door for people who are looking to buy used and new vehicles now. 2 out of 3 used cars looking for used or certified, according to Cox Automotive. That is up more than 13% since 2019. And 1 out of 3 are planning to buy in the next 6 months. As we mentioned before, contactless services are the #1 most requested option for today's shopper, and 18% of consumers report that they would buy sooner if there was a full online purchase option available. And I know some dealerships are starting to move more and more into that capacity. We were just talking to Asbury Automotive Group over the last couple of days, and they are specifically trying to grow their online buying experience within their platforms from coast to coast. Overall, they expect transparency, and there's just been a new bar set when it comes to what shoppers are expecting from their dealerships and the interactions that they have with us. So what does this continue to mean for shoppers and what they care about? You can see here, there's 5 important requirements for meeting the needs of the horizontal marketplace shopper, and all fall really into that category of user experience. A recent Forrester e-business strategy report indicated that 61% of US online adults are unlikely to return to a merchant or to a brand that does not provide a satisfactory customer experience. As I mentioned with my Yelp review and the experience I had with the kids barbershop, I'm one of those individuals within the 61%. And I would imagine all of us have one type of experience like that has led us away from somebody that we might have been loyal to in the past, but that one experience has led us in a different direction. Ultimately, it just has to be easy. I used the term frictionless earlier and how OfferUp tries to operate. That means fewer steps, a clear set of instructions, no waiting for something to happen outside of the session that might be taking place within these digital platforms. And think about Amazon. I vacation in Florida every summer, and I recognize that I have blood that mosquitoes love. All right. And as a result, I've got to make sure I'm taking care of myself going into some of these different vacation destinations. I buy mosquito bracelets for every single trip that I go on into some of those tropical landscapes. And I can open up my Amazon app. I can navigate to the buy again section, select the mosquito bracelets from my recent purchases, and hit the buy now button, all within 6 clicks. And I'm done and out of there within 20 seconds. That's possible because the app is familiar to me. That's important to understand too. Horizontal marketplace shoppers are comfortable there because it's familiar and because it becomes their preferred way to shop and buy, right? But shoppers are also different, and the way I use Amazon or the way I use OfferUp may be different than how you use it. So it's important that the shoppers have options in terms of how they engage. Do I want my mosquito bracelets shipped to me? Do I want to pick them up in an Amazon locker? How do I want to pay? When do I need them? All of these different things are things to be considering, which means, when we look at these horizontal marketplace and offer buyers all of these different choices, it means that you list your vehicles, shoppers have the same expectations of you as well. So be thinking about some of those different things as you move your brand strategy forward. And as we look at the final two here, the control of communication and the accessible information from experts, there's more to unpack. So we'll get into those within these next couple of slides. So the importance of asynchronous communication channels. The control and the instant gratification that we all yearn for nowadays, they're synonymous with that concept of asynchronous communication. And this is really just a fancy way of saying that both parties don't have to be live and present at the same time to engage. Synchronous communication is a live person-to-person interaction, a conversation that might take place on a phone call. But the asynchronous channels like text, social media, mobile app messaging, and chat allow the customer to start, pause, and resume a conversation as they see fit. Nowadays, people want to be able to start that conversation, go drop their kids off at school, come back and pick up right where they left off. If you don't have that opportunity to do so, and you're constantly having to start anew or talk to a new individual, you're not going to have that same relationship and that dynamic of loyalty involved with your consumers. You need to have this in place because that puts them in control. And that's ultimately what the consumer wants. They can choose the channel and decide when to use it. But that doesn't mean that you get that same latitude, right? They expect quick responses to questions and requests for information. That same Forrester report we mentioned indicates that almost 47% will abandon an online purchase if they ask and don't get a quick answer back. On OfferUp, dealers who reduce their response times to less than 5 minutes see 127% more converted leads compared to dealers who do not. That number is unbelievable, 127%. And we experienced this in real time over the last 48 hours. We just had a dealer reach out to us and tell us that they received a lead 2 days ago for a Honda Pilot that they were looking to sell. They didn't respond for 42 hours. Within those 42 hours, that buyer already bought a Honda Pilot from somebody else on OfferUp's platform. So the speed to lead and the I want it now, that instant gratification type of mindset isn't just something that they expect, but it's also something that our dealers need to fully embrace and adopt and really be challenging our frontline contributors to be fully immersed in that process. So how can you take advantage of the horizontal marketplace? Well, one, it's good to understand that there's really no going back to what might have existed prior to the pandemic starting. People expect a certain experience as they move forward, and since things have evolved, the new normal needs to be in place. And you can see here, the CEO from Cox Automotive said, "What's becoming clear is that it will not return to business as usual when an all clear is given. We're never going back to the way we were." We've seen an acceleration toward full online vehicle retailing, and it's not going to slow down. So because that new bar has been set, all of those 18 to 44-year-olds and first-time buyers, they have a new standard of expectation. They're not going to suddenly stop and go back to the way things were. They want the same, if not an even better experience online the next time they interact with your dealership, and not going back to the old way. You know, the best thing we can say is embrace that they want control of that process, and let them have control of that process. They're more likely to be loyal because it's familiar and it's comfortable to them. Give them the options and tailor that shopping and buyer process to them. And then ultimately, you can see here at the bottom, brands and dealers that embrace this new normal are ultimately going to be those that separate themselves and find more victories at the end. So the second thing would be to note is that horizontal marketplaces, they're just different. You know, understanding those differences and aligning your marketing strategies with the various strengths and focus areas of each one. You know, OfferUp might offer something completely different, or a little tweak here or there compared to a Facebook marketplace or a Craigslist or an eBay Motors. You know, this may be the user base itself or the user experience. Communication options are important to consider, both in terms of how they facilitate your communication with potential customers and how they integrate with what you already have in place. So many dealerships that I talk with talk to me all the time about how they want things that are seamless into the processes that they already have in place. And that's something that we're really trying to understand more of as we move forward, to make sure we have exactly what dealerships need to run their business effectively and have a proper strategy that makes the most sense. As you list your vehicles, horizontal marketplaces enable you to own that customer journey, whether you're trying to push them towards other listings within your within the marketplace, whether you want to push them into your business profile or push them towards your website. All of these things are capable to be done within that one place within the marketplace. And then you can also build your brand. Use the listings as a passive way to gain branding and exposure into your community. Listings are the first impression they get of the dealership. And also it's a way to highlight what makes your dealership stand out compared to what might be happening with your competitors within that same community. And then finally, that communication and integration piece. Many marketplaces have integration partners that'll allow you to automatically keep up to date listings on their platform. But also, if that utility is not available on your preferred marketplace, train your sales reps to post manually to obtain that market share and take advantage of what's taking place within these community marketplaces. The third thing would really be leveraging the reach, both in terms of volume and targeting. There are audiences shopping platforms like OfferUp that you're probably not reaching currently. The horizontal marketplace is a first-party ecosystem that gets visited repeatedly, as we've mentioned, up to 19 times on average on a monthly basis. When you shop on Amazon or on OfferUp, think about all the data insight that's collected there. It's getting harder and harder to use data to target shoppers outside of the platform. But when they visit the marketplace dozens of times a month, you have the ability to target them within that platform with much more detail and precision. The reach that these marketplaces have is typically skewed toward the used vehicle segment, as we've mentioned a couple times now. We all know that that's a hot market, though. Get your used vehicles listed and take advantage of it if you can. And last but not least, you know, from a pro tip standpoint, if you aren't already doing it, mine the horizontal marketplace, source for vehicles within these marketplaces. There are millions of private party listings on sites like OfferUp, and nothing stops you from sourcing and mining what's currently listed within those platforms. Unlike traditional platforms, your vehicle strategy is really based on your business needs. So as we go back to those themes of listing, advertising, and acquiring inventory, take it a step further. Many marketplaces have integration partners that will allow you to have those listings on your platform. All marketplaces use some sort of live chat. Be ready to engage with buyers with the way they want to engage. They love to communicate this way, and it goes a long way towards earning their business. We have multiple partners on our platform like Finley Auto Group, Lithia, Norm Reeves, Berkshire Hathaway, that are all listing cars on our platform and utilizing chat capabilities in order to make that a more seamless communication. And then advertising, the advertising your vehicles on a marketplace may be the single best thing you can do. It allows you to own that customer journey, as we mentioned. You get up to 10 times more exposure and engagement activity. Advertising spots are a way to be proactive in your approach. And we also offer opportunities for a local advertisement aspect that can help brand your business and dealership and work as a great complement to the listings that they're seeing on your site. So it just continues to keep your name, your image, your likeness out front and center of the consumers that are coming to these marketplaces. And then the final thing is, we were talking about acquiring additional inventory, source and mine vehicles on the horizontal marketplace platforms. Currently, we partner with companies like CarMax and Carvana that source cars on OfferUp, and they love the ability to be able to reach out to these private posters and earn business that they, again, can put back into the flywheel and position themselves with new listing inventory that just strengthens their brand and their dealership. Now that we've identified the power behind horizontal marketplace, I just want to share a brief high-end view of some notable information about OfferUp in particular as we wrap up. Currently OfferUp is the #1 mobile marketplace in the country. This is significant because, as we mentioned earlier, the age range of buyers is changing, and more buyers are looking to find those solutions to their needs on these mobile devices. We have over 100 million downloads currently across the country, and 1 of 5 adults in the US used OfferUp in 2020. In addition, 1 of 4 users use OfferUp exclusively to research and buy vehicles. So it's a huge amount of people that are coming to our site specifically to look for inventory, and we're trying to supply as much of that as we can. While many people still go to vertical marketplaces such as Car Gurus and others to shop, more and more people flock to OfferUp because of the variety, the comfort, and that speed within which they can find solutions to their everyday needs. And continued cross-pollination keeps them coming back, like we mentioned, up to 19 times per month over and over again. I appreciate everyone taking the time to visit with us. We're as we wrap up here today, and we discussed a lot of new ideas to list, advertise, acquire vehicles in this crowded marketplace. We know we're not going back to the way things were being done, and we hope that we can help many of you as you continue to build your brands and your strategies to operate your business the way you want to, not only in Q4, but as we move forward into the new year. So, I want to make sure we left some time. Happy to address any questions that we might have from anybody in attendance. I see a couple comments that are sitting here in the chat, but we'll see if there's anything in particular that anybody would like additional information about, or anything we haven't addressed that someone might want to point out.
Jeff, great job. Those 2 comments actually in the chat were me. I was just fishing for some questions and encouraging people to not be timid. So unfortunately, we didn't have any questions come through, but hopefully I speak for everybody in saying that was very informative. I live here in Utah, and we have a horizontal marketplace called KSL that you're probably familiar with, and it's very widely used here in Utah. And that stat of 19 times per month is staggering. I mean, I use KSL quite a bit, probably not 19 times per month, but
Yeah.
like, it's crazy how much activity you guys have on a monthly basis with your users. That's cool. My question, I did have one question though, since one didn't come in. And I used to work at a dealership, or 2 different dealerships, for a total of 16 years. So I'm in inventory acquisition mode here, but I know it's been such a sore subject for dealers in the last year or 2. What do you see? My question is, what do you see for best practices from some of your dealers in terms of utilizing a platform such as OfferUp to acquire inventory?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think a lot of times what we notice is that they directly reach out to these consumers. They don't hold back from trying to figure out a certain angle. They just reach out directly and say, hey, we've noticed that you are currently looking to offload or sell this vehicle through OfferUp. And we partnered with OfferUp to find individuals like yourself to make that selling process easier. We're seeing that across a lot of different industries, as I mentioned, even from working in the real estate space with Zillow. They've moved to what they call Zillow offers, and that is an instantaneous offer from the company themselves to take a house off someone's hands. That way they don't have to worry about the aspect and the time consumption that it might take to actually move that product or that house or that car. So partnering with somebody like a CarMax or a Carvana or even a local dealership looking to source vehicles, that transaction can move much faster and get money into an individual's pocket that much quicker. And as a result, I think that's been the main area of opportunity and the value proposition, if you will, that they're able to offer to these private parties in moving that vehicle in a much faster pace.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. Are you seeing that your top performing dealers are they using salespeople to do that? Are they using the BDC department? Like what are you seeing at some of your stores?
We definitely see both. We see a combination of a lot of different things, whether it be who's listing and generating leads and moving vehicles that they already own and through the sourcing aspect. But we definitely partner with a lot of BDC teams if they don't have any type of chat or capabilities from a concierge type of standpoint. But we also partner with a lot of dealerships that already work with Goobagoo or CarNow or Active Engage, who facilitate those types of things, either with individual sales reps or from a management standpoint, who then funnels out the leads to their front line.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, cool. Looks like we did have a question come in just now. It says you mentioned branding. How are dealers staying in front of shoppers that are no longer in market, and how are they keeping their brand in front of shoppers while the shopper is in market?
That's a good question. And, it was actually something, Matt, I appreciate that I was thinking about before jumping onto this call. One of the powerful things behind OfferUp is that individual, since it's a national brand, they take the OfferUp app with them, even if they were to move out of market, and they continue to shop for cars in their new market. So for bigger brands like an AutoNation, they'll continue to see that brand showing up in their local space. But that's oftentimes where we as dealerships that are more local will lose them because somebody just moves out of the zip code or out of the community and into a different area. But with some of the different things that we're doing from a local ads perspective, we are making sure we're putting the branding more out there to advertise the dealership itself. But when you come to a platform like OfferUp and somebody starts seeing vehicles that they're looking for, and they select a 4Runner for ABC Honda, once they go into that one car, they'll then see the inventory for the rest of the cars that are offered at that dealership. And it just continues to, as I mentioned before, that stickiness. It continues with the algorithms to push a lot of those similar vehicles up to the front of that individual user's experience. And it continues to keep the dealerships and those specific vehicles top of mind.
Got it. Well, Matt, hopefully appreciate you chiming in there. Hopefully that answers your question. Yeah, it looks like there's no other questions. And Jeff, thanks for answering my question as well. I'm sure dealers just now more than ever have to get creative with sourcing inventory. So
Absolutely.
Anyway, we appreciate your insight and for being willing to share this webinar today. Do you have any final thoughts before we sign off, Jeff?
I know that we're all grinding. And so at the very least, I appreciate everybody for coming in and spending some time with driving sales and with OfferUp and some of the topics we discussed today. I know it's not easy for a lot of us right now, and we're doing a lot of things to get creative, as Brian mentioned. So I appreciate you guys taking the time. And if there's anything we can do from both of our ends to support anybody, please reach out. We'd be happy to do so.
Yeah, and just as a follow-up, we'll be sending a recorded version of this webinar out to everybody as well. So in case there's information that they need to access after the fact. So But thanks again, Jeff. Appreciate it. Everybody have a good rest of your day.